What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. It is Monday, and unfortunately, it's going to be another 7 days before the Reds are in action. Only 3 league games to go, and we don't take on Leicester at the King Power until next Monday night. So, another weekend of no Liverpool, unfortunately. But there are still plenty of stories doing the rounds today that I wanted to bring to your attention. We're going to be speaking about Alexis Mac Allister, a couple of varying reports, one on the wage that Liverpool have apparently offered him, and secondly about the clause that is apparently in his contract but isn't a straightforward release clause. So we'll touch on those things, a couple of other bits and pieces, and a little bit on Sadio Mane as well. Yes, that's Sadio Mane, our former Sadio Mane. He could well be returning to the Premier League, so we will talk about that. As always, I want to know your thoughts, my friends, in the comment section. Do drop a like on the video. And if you haven't yet hit the subscribe button, please do. So look, let's get into it. And Footy Insider are reporting that Liverpool have met Alexis Mac Allister's representatives for face-to-face talks and have offered him a contract worth more than £150,000 a week. Now, look, that sounds about right to me. You know, I'm not involved in this, obviously. I don't know what the going rate is for Premier League footballers in every position, but if you're going to be spending a significant amount of money on a midfield that you want to bring in and be part of a rebuild in midfield, that sounds about right to me. £150,000 a week. We're talking about a World Cup winner here. We're talking about somebody who's obviously had a very good season with Brighton. And on that, I'm sure most of you are aware of this, but Brighton were absolutely hammered 5-1 earlier on by Everton. So maybe Brighton's European hopes have taken a bit of a dent. But again, this news on Alexis Mac Allister is good news. But it isn't the only news. There is more stuff to come on Alexis Mac Allister, so bear with me. So, David Ornstein of The Athletic has spoken about a clause that does exist in Alexis Mac Allister's contract, but isn't really a straightforward release clause. So let me explain what David has said in his article. And if you have The Athletic, of course, go and have a read of this for yourself. It said, "It's understood that the terms do indeed contain a mechanism which can be used to help facilitate a move and that has contributed to the level of interest building to prize Mac Allister away from Brighton. This is thought not to be a typical release clause other clubs may simply trigger, leaving the player to choose their next step, but a more complex feature that gives Brighton a say over the outcome. As a result, the situation is not a foregone conclusion, and there is no agreement in place for Mac Allister to leave the Amex Stadium, although that could well materialise. Firm decisions are unlikely to be made until the campaign ends." So, again, information, but not a lot of it there from David Ornstein. And football contracts are definitely a very complicated thing. But, you know, there was talk over the last week. Was there some clause in there? Was a specific number? At least now that we know there isn't a clause that Liverpool could go in, say, and trigger X amount of money and that will get them done. But it does seem like there's certainly a framework there for a conversation to be had with Brighton about Alexis Mac Allister's departure in the summer. And again, if you go off what Football Insider said as well about the package that's been offered to him, it does start to look like Liverpool are certainly making a bit of ground in their pursuit of Alexis Mac Allister. But we don't just need him, right? We need a couple of more midfielders. Don't know if you have seen today what Gabriel Bonlahor has been saying about Mason Mount, but basically to summarise it for you, he said he's not worth the money. He's pretty underwhelming. His goal return for an attacking midfielder isn't what it should be. Then he goes on and points to Martin Odegaard, of course, who I think has 14 goals, something like that, this season for Arsenal. So I agree. And it's not very often I'm going to agree with Gabriel Bonlahor, but I've gone cold on the Liverpool signing Mason Mount, particularly with the numbers that have been mentioned. But he is still a player that is under consideration by the Reds board. So I did promise you a little bit of stuff on Sadio Mane, and a bit of a strange one, this, right? Because we were talking about it on the kickoff yesterday, and it was more just broaching the conversation, but multiple sources have now suggested that Chelsea are planning to submit a proposal to Bayern Munich for Sadio Mane. Weirdly, I think it could be a good move for Chelsea, but I'm not sure how I feel about Sadio maybe coming back to the Premier League and going to Chelsea. Again, this is probably an emotive subject for many Liverpool fans, maybe for some Bayern fans, but let me know in the chat what you think. Do you think that Sadio Mane returning to the Premier League would taint his Liverpool legacy somewhat? I have to say, for me, it probably would a little bit. I'll always love Sadio Mane. I mean, what he did for a football club when he was here was absolutely outstanding. And if you go to a club and it doesn't work out, well, then moving to another club is, it's probably fair. But back in the Premier League, back against Liverpool, helping Chelsea to maybe come back and fight for a Champions League place next season, it's not something that I feel I feel I'd like to see. But again, maybe I feel differently on this to you guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Again, a little bit of a strange one, not really Liverpool related, but you know, as if Real Madrid rebuilding their midfield isn't bad enough. They've now looked at somebody else to come in on top of maybe Jude Bellingham. And there are reports again today that Madrid are looking to bring in Marco Verratti of PSG. And I think that will be a sensational move for Real Madrid. Yes, he has his injury concerns, but if you're losing Luka Modric, you're losing Toni Kroos, to be able to potentially bring in somebody of the caliber of Marco Verratti to add to Tchouaméni, to add to Camavinga, to add to maybe Jude Bellingham, obviously Federico Valverde as well, it's a pretty intimidating midfield that they could put together there. So one worth maybe keeping an eye on as well. Liverpool search for a sporting director looks like it's coming towards its conclusion, by the way. And the name that keeps coming around is Jörg Schmatke. Now, again, excuse my pronunciation of that one. Former Wolfsburg sporting director, worked there, I believe, for 5 years. And looks like he's the front runner. Now, that's where my knowledge of the man absolutely comes to an end. But maybe you guys in the comments can let me know. Maybe you watch more Bundesliga than I do. It's really odd because for such an important role, it's weird seeing names that none of us really recognize, right? Or at least the majority of us probably don't recognize, because it is somewhat of an unheralded role at a lot of football clubs. What Michael Edwards has done for us has been absolutely remarkable. What Julian Ward has continued to do, again, remarkable. So a German by the looks of it, and Jörg Schmatke is the name that's highest up on the radar. Other than that, there's not really much to bring you guys with regards to incomings, at least not that I've seen anyway. Our search for a centre-back is one that seems to have been done behind closed doors or under the radar, because I still don't know. The most likely one that I've seen is Inacio from Sporting Lisbon. They're in a bit of a battle to even get European football next season at the minute, so we've been looking at Ugarte and him every time we've gone over there. Again, on Ugarte, nothing new. I know we still need more than one midfielder, and the only name that I can really say with concrete certainty is Alexis Mac Allister. And even at that, there's still work to be done on that potential deal. So let me know if there are any other targets that you've seen, maybe I've missed out on. And here's an interesting one. With regards to Caoimhín Kelleher and his potential future, I've read over the past couple of days that he's been strongly linked with Brentford. Yes, that Brentford, the same rolling around, cheating, diving, complaining, whinging merchants that we played the other day. Yeah, apparently Raya could be on to bigger and better things, maybe even Spurs with regards to him. And Caoimhín Kelleher is seen by Brentford as somebody that could be an ideal replacement. So again, let me know your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree? Anything else that I've spoken about tonight, of course, want to know your thoughts on. And I will see you guys same time, same place tomorrow for another news update video. And of course, we will be in a watch along of the 2 Champions League semi-finals. If you'd like to join us over on our Twitch channel, you will also find the link to that in the description of this video. That is it from me, my friends. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. And again, it's going to be a long 7 days till the Reds are in action. But fingers crossed it's going to be worth it next week when we can potentially send Leicester to relegation. That's a sentence that I never thought I'd be saying, by the way. Leicester and relegation. Who knows? But if we beat them, they're in a whole world of trouble. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.